Hi, it's Elise Lunan, host of Pulling the Thread. In this show, I chat with culture-defining leaders, thinkers, and experts about this rare moment that we find ourselves in and how to think about our own lives and experiences within a larger social and spiritual construct. Listen and follow Pulling the Thread with me, Elise Lunan, a podcast presentation of Cadence 13, now for free on Odyssey and wherever you get your podcasts.
30 years ago this fall, a law professor named Anita Hill testified about sexual harassment at Clarence Thomas's Supreme Court confirmation hearings. Now, Because of Anita tells the real story of what happened and what's changed. You'll hear from journalists, witnesses, and activists, and listen in on the first public conversation between Professor Hill and Dr. Christine Blasey Ford. That's Because of Anita, a production of Pineapple Street Studios and The Meteor, out now wherever you get your podcasts.
Herbie, let's get it.
English, you speak it.
Lawrence Holmes live from Chicago, middays noon to 2 on Sports Radio 670 The Score, an Odyssey station.
Previously on the Lawrence Holmes Show.
Cam Ellis writes for Odyssey. That's the name of the people who own this radio station and a bunch of other ones in our family. You covered this team. You've been up there in the Matt Nagy press conferences and at Hallis Hall. Do you think that the way that his moves this season are coming off, and the fact that there are a ton of people both locally and nationally kind of at his throat, do you think it's getting to him? Do you think it bothers him?
I think that there is a certain aspect, when he answered about the question about play calling on Sunday after the game, I thought that was pretty telling because he just let it rip. And he started off being polite, and you could hear his tone get a little louder, and you could see him sort of get tense, and then he had that really nervous laughing outbreak in the middle of it, and then quite literally was like, please stop asking me about this, in a way that felt, I think he was trying to make it seem like it was, shtick, and he was just, chumming it up with reporters, but it didn't really come across that way to me. It felt really angry and defensive. I think it's getting to him as much as anything has gotten to him in his tenure.
Make me a bicycle, clown!
Bass drop! Yeah, man, we can put a little extra on it today. There's some good news from Bears land. The Chicago Bears have named Justin Fields the quarterback. You don't have to worry about Andy Dalton no more. You don't have to worry about him giving you the best chance to win and that nonsense. You don't have to worry about Justin Fields hasn't earned it, because at least according to the Bears head coach, he has earned it. You know what I love about this? What I love about this is the collective correctness of this. I love that the Bears world at large, whether local or national, whether fans and a majority of media that cover this team, we're all like, this doesn't look right. They should do something different. Now, a lot of times we're wrong collectively. A lot of times we don't get it. And there are sometimes people on the inside be like, here, you don't get it, and here's why you don't get it. But guess what? We were right. What you were thinking while you were watching Justin Fields get crucified versus Cleveland and play well last week against Detroit was you were right. There is enough there for them to go, let's take the next step in this. And at the crux of it, that's all anyone wanted, was take the next step and see where it goes. I know that Dan Durkin is coming up, but Herbie, I need them to, because I feel like the Blues Brothers thing is so pertinent because they finally saw the light today. We got to break people off Layla, you don't have to ask to come back into the studio. This is your studio. The queen of sports talk can come back into the studio when she wants. That's really nice of you. You're welcome. Bye. Herbie, give him a little Blues Brothers.
Do you see the light? The man! Do you see the light? What light? Have you seen the light? Yes! Yes! Jesus H. Goddamn Christ! I have seen the light!
Oh, yeah! Doesn't it feel good to pay less? We are going to talk with Dan Durkin next and see what he saw in the film and if it can be duplicated with Justin Fields, the new starting quarterback of your Chicago Bears. We are discussing it here on The Score. Hallelujah. May the congregation say amen.
Hi, it's Elise Lunan, host of Pulling the Thread. In this show, I chat with culture-defining leaders, thinkers, and experts about this rare moment that we find ourselves in and how to think about our own lives and experiences within a larger social and spiritual construct. Listen and follow Pulling the Thread with me, Elise Lunan, a podcast presentation of Cadence 13, now for free on Odyssey and wherever you get your podcasts.
30 years ago this fall, a law professor named Anita Hill testified about sexual harassment at Clarence Thomas's Supreme Court confirmation hearings. Now, Because of Anita tells the real story of what happened and what's changed. You'll hear from journalists, witnesses, and activists, and listen in on the first public conversation between Professor Hill and Dr. Christine Blasey Ford. That's Because of Anita, a production of Pineapple Street Studios and The Meteor, out now wherever you get your podcasts.
Help DEA keep our community safe and healthy by participating in National Prescription Drug Take-Back Day, Saturday, October 23rd. Take action right in your own home by cleaning out your family medicine cabinet of unused and expired prescription drugs. Keep them safe, clean them out, take them back. To find a collection site near you, visit DEATakeback.com. Do your part to lower overdose deaths and prevent prescription drug misuse before it starts. That's DEATakeback.com.
Lawrence Holmes live from Chicago, middays noon to 2 on Sports Radio 670 The Score and Odyssey Station.
See that Bears game last week? Yeah, hell of a game. Bears got a great team this year.
Let's go into the film room with Dan Durkin.
I thought this tape was going to be a conversation stimulator, man.
Dan breaks down every Bears game like no other.
I'm going to go back and watch it. I'm going to evaluate myself and see where I was. And then if there's any drops in there, those guys are going to hear it. I'm going to get on them.
Lawrence Holmes with Dan Durkin, now on 670 The Score.
Actually, a pretty decent film.
What's great about this is that it's rare that we get Dan Durkin on as breaking news happens as it pertains to what he does for this show. The breaking news, if you're just joining us, first of all, thank you for making us the choice. We like the fact that we're live and we're local here, and we can talk about news stories as they happen. Justin Fields is the Bears' starting quarterback, period. It's not he's the starting quarterback until Andy Dalton gets healthy. They are making a change in direction. And Andy Dalton is going to be a full participant in practice, and he's not going to start unless something happens to Justin Fields between now and Sunday. This is good news, and we are discussing it. The breaking news on The Score is brought to you by DuckDuckGo. Protect your privacy online for free with DuckDuckGo. DuckDuckGo, privacy simplified. Perfect time to talk with Dan Durkin because what Dan Durkin does for us is he breaks down the tape. He lets us know what he saw and what we can expect going forward. You can follow him on Twitter at DJ Durkin. You can also check him out on the All 22 Review on YouTube. He joins me now on the Circa Resort and Casino hotline. Circa Resort and Casino in Las Vegas, home of the world's largest sports book, and there's going to be a score party at Circa Resort and Casino on Sunday as the Bears take on the Raiders. And if you're down that way, you should go by and see Parkins and Spiegel. Mr. Durkin, how are you?
I'm doing well. Lawrence, how are you, man?
I'm doing really well. We got the news a couple minutes before you joined us that Justin Fields is going to be the starter. So I got to know, what did you see on tape last week from Justin Fields?
Well, we saw what we saw at Ohio State. And so I think that this goes back to, some of the things that you and I talked about, before the season and just even before the Browns game and how they should approach this. And, hats off to Bill Lazor for looking at the situation and coming up with a plan of attack and executing on it. And so all of these things come back to, what are you doing to set your talent up for success? And it's really simple. You don't need to deviate much from that. And your talent is your quarterback, your offensive line, everybody that you have at your disposal, ensuring that what you're doing, they are comfortable with, they're capable of, and you can curate a game plan that falls well within those confines. And I think that Lazor did an excellent job. And so I go back to something that I talked about prior to the season when I assessed Justin at Ohio State. And there were a couple tenets that stood out to me. One was, heavier personnel. They went to a lot of, 12 personnel, so 2 tight end formations, but plays running from under center, making play action the foundation of their passing game, and then outside zone runs. And the reason that the outside zone runs and under center work so well together is it creates that hard play action where he can boot back out. It's clear that he is most comfortable doing 2 things when he is throwing off of play action and throwing with a little bit of movement. He just seems to see the field a little bit better and mechanically just seems to be cleaner. And so that's what Bill Lazor went in with. Our identity for this game is we're going to pound the rock on outside zone, and we're going to have a bunch of bucketed play action concepts off of it, and we're going to keep it simple. It's easier for the offensive line, and it puts the defense in conflict. And so you saw Justin go out there and execute that confidently. He was really feeling it. He was in rhythm early, and they kept with the plan and didn't deviate from it. And so I think that that's what they're going to have to do moving forward now. Stick with this. You can continue to layer on new things as he becomes more comfortable with what's going to become their base offense. And then from there, you keep building. But again, set your talent up for success and good things will come.
So the person who's listening in their car or in their office or at home and that's hearing you talk about this, I was wondering if you could break down a couple of concepts for us, okay? What is it about young quarterbacks, why they might have better success with play action?
Sure. So play action, specifically, you make a play look very similar for the first couple clicks of the down. So after the ball is snapped, you are keeping the defense in conflict. And so linebackers' keys are a little muddy because the play could still look like a run. So what does that mean? They're triggering towards the line of scrimmage. So now when they trigger towards the line of scrimmage, there are voids that get created behind them. So what's happening behind them is you're distorting their ability to get back and cover space. And so offensive coordinators take that into consideration. So for the first couple steps that Justin is taking post-snap, I am coming up with route combinations that when he hits step X in his drop back and he comes back and settles, maybe it's a 3-step, maybe it's a full roll from there, the routes downfield are either breaking open or have already broken open. So now when he gets up, it's a cleaner picture for him to know my first read in the progression is here. Where is the closest defender? And then from there, it's creating a much cleaner picture for him simply because you have not given a very quick and clean key to the defense to understand, is this run or is this pass? You have kept them in conflict. And that is how you create easier and more, not necessarily predetermined, but cleaner throwing windows for a young quarterback. And not only that, if he doesn't like what he sees when he's running something off of play action, typically he's on the move. So now If he doesn't pull the trigger, he has the ability to say, okay, I'm just going to tuck it and run. So you've given him two advantages. You've distorted the defense, and now you've also given him a technically like a run-pass option on this, because if he doesn't like what he sees from a throwing perspective, he can just tuck the ball and run.
In looking at his tape from Ohio State, and I know that you did an incredible breakdown of Justin Fields once the draft was over with, he played a lot under center. What's the differences for a quarterback who's playing under center versus them playing out of pistol or gun?
Sure. I think footwork is a big part of it. So when you think about what we were just talking about a second ago, tying your footwork up with the routes and when they come open, that's one advantage. The other is when you're a disadvantage of being in shotgun is you need to take your eyes momentarily off of the defense to receive the snap, because you have to look down and catch the ball. So now you have to look back up and say, hey, what I saw pre-snap, is it the same post-snap? Because teams aren't going to give you static looks. Teams are going to typically show you one thing, but they're disguising what their true intentions are. So maybe they have a safety down in the box, but then so it looks like single high, but then they rotate him to two high. So now all of a sudden you have a different coverage than what you're anticipating. Or they do the flip. They start with two safeties high, and then one drives down to either maybe he inserts to the strong or the weak side of the formation. And so just that little momentary click, while you get a wider picture from the shotgun, it makes you rescan the defense. So every second counts. And obviously when your offensive line can struggle, every second matters even more in that instance. But for me, it comes down to, not having to take your eyes off of the defense, tying your footwork a little bit closer to what the play is actually going to be. And then also just that hard boot action that he does so well. And it's just something that you could tell even at Ohio State. He was very comfortable with it. And Ryan Day, to his credit, recognized that there were still shotgun concepts. You can't exclusively run out of center, but setting him up to run out of what he's most comfortable with is what they should have been doing all along. But for me, it comes down to cleaner footwork. You enable the ability to run that hard play action that he just does so well, and allowing him to really kind of get a better scan of the defense all the way through the time that the ball is snapped.
Dan Durkin is joining me. Follow him on Twitter at DJ Durkin, and also check out the All 22 review. You were talking about building off of the success that they had. One thing that I thought was interesting, and I wonder what you saw in the tape breakdown, I thought that Allen Robinson and Darnell Mooney also proved that if you go 6 or 7 man protection, they can win some of those battles. What do you think that ends up doing for this offense going forward?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they're playmakers, and Darnell Mooney is a guy who can win with footwork off the snap, just like Allen Robinson can as well. And so even though you're, quote, sacrificing eligible receivers by keeping them in, so think tight ends or think running backs, even though you're not getting all 5 out into a route, it doesn't matter, because Justin did a lot of his damage at Ohio State off of max protect. So max protect means you're keeping 8 in, and it's really a 2-man route combination that's out there. So, I mean, it doesn't matter how many you have. If you have receivers that can win a clean release off the line, which the Bears can, and Allen Robinson and Darnell Mooney, and then they can shake free at the top of the route, which they both can because they're excellent technicians at their job, you now have the ability to scheme deeper throws down the field, given the fact that the release wasn't impeded off of the snap, and then you've allowed them to scan the field. They do some middle read concepts. So is the middle of the field open? Is the middle of the field closed? And as a consequence of that answer, you adjust your route accordingly. But now you're attacking the defense deeper. So when you quote unquote sacrifice receivers to keep the protection right, it gives your quarterback more time to survey the field. It gives your receivers more time to break free from leverage, and typically big gains come from it. And you're absolutely right. When you go back and look at it, I really liked how Bill Lazor pried receivers open. I've moaned to you about Matt Nagy for the longest time, not doing enough to pry receivers open. So, that means that there's a little bit of sacrifice when it comes to being a receiver. There are certain plays where you're a decoy or you're somebody that's just clearing out space for somebody else. So be it. It's about the team, and it's about setting people up. The Bears are really fond of running these deep over routes from the opposite side of the field. So they'll typically get one receiver coming from one side of the field, crossing all the way over. So if it's man defense, that's hard for a cornerback to trail that far across, especially when you have a receiver with speed building up some momentum, and then the receivers on the opposite side of the field have cleared out a bunch of green grass. So I saw very unselfish play by the wide receivers, and then just really nice technician in terms of being able to win clean releases and win at the break point at the top of the routes.
Dan Durkin is amazing at breaking down tape. You should watch the All 22 review. You should follow him on Twitter. If he's not a part of your Bears Twitter on Sundays, you're doing it wrong. At DJ Durkin is where you can find him. As always, sir, I appreciate the education. Thank you so much for the time.
Go White Sox.
Indeed. We're going to take a break. Matt Nagy is big on saying we have to figure out the whys, right? When we come back, you're going to find out why he decided that it was time for Justin Fields to be the starter. That's next here on The Score.
Lawrence Holmes live from Chicago, middays noon to 2 on Sports Radio 670 The Score and Odyssey Station.
It's time for the percolator. Percolator.
I don't know if you're doing the West Side Percolator or the South Side one, but we all doing it, so.
It's time for the percolator. Percolator.
You know why we're doing it? Because Justin Fields is the starting quarterback of the Bears now. And it's not because Andy Dalton is injured. According to the head coach, he's earned it. Okay, Boomer, he's earned it with his performance against Detroit. It was just Detroit. Yeah, I guess he earned it. It's very exciting. It's a very exciting day because now you can really get into how is Justin Fields progressing. And it's cool to have a new quarterback and see what that quarterback can turn into. No promises to be made, but it's just fun to see someone actually get something on merit. For all you people that love to talk about merit, it's fun to see, isn't it? The head coach of your Chicago Bears spoke to the media a few minutes ago. Here's what went into the decision to make Justin Fields the starter.
I told you the last couple of weeks we've had some good conversations internally. It's helped us in the last couple of weeks. Continuing that process this week, it's led to making a decision to move with Justin as a starter. We've been patient with this. We've grown with him. We're proud of Justin. He's been a great teammate from the very beginning, and I think what needs to be understood is that from Justin's side, with the injury, the plan and the process that we had going into this was important to understand. And then when Andy unfortunately got hurt with his knee, that sped the process up. That sped the plan up. And so I've always said from the beginning to everybody in here, to our players, coaches, to y'all when y'all ask, is that we'll know. And he's done everything to show us that he's ready for this opportunity. I think that Coach Laser has done an amazing job at really helping to get this process going, just the whole thing in general. He makes my job as a head coach a heck of a lot easier, and that I appreciate. It's been awesome with that. The same with Coach Flip, working with the quarterbacks, and so there. When you're developing guys, young guys like Justin and others, dealing with Andy and Nick and different veterans, you need that as a head coach. You got to have those guys support you, and Bill has been phenomenal. So I appreciate that. It'll be our job now as coaches to continue to teach and help him grow as we go, and develop into that NFL quarterback that we know he can be. Now, there's also going to be ebb and flow with this process. We get that. We all understand that. But I think Justin has shown that he has the ability to also handle that. I mean, we all went through a pretty rough game in Cleveland, and I love the way that he bounced back. And so this is about everybody. This is all of us doing this together. In regards to Andy, I can't say enough good things about Andy Dalton. He is, I've been around a lot of special people, guys that have done things the right way. And, you look at this situation, and he's, I really think that he was playing well for us. I love the type of teammate that he is and continues to be. He's as good as they get. Really, I mean that. And when you have, when you have to have these conversations with these guys that you're with every day, and you build these relationships, I'm just going to be completely honestly and real with you, man. It's hard. It's not easy. And so there's that part of this, and I just appreciate the way that that he's handled everything, and so he's as special as they get. And I've been around a lot of special guys. He's as special as they get. So I think that's important. So I know you guys will have a lot of questions, but I just want to let you all know from that side of it where it's at.
Matt, this is a different message than you communicated on Monday. So what pushed you guys over the edge here to stick with Justin Cole?
Well, I think the biggest thing is, Dan, that, again, the beauty of how we do things, and this is what I love about our building and our staff, and I told you even with the players last week, like we talk through things, and things are fluid. And things are always fluid, really, in any sport. But we discuss things. We're open. We have open communication. Just being able to, for me as a head coach, to be able to listen as you go through the process. And I think that, really the last 24, 48 hours when you go through everything and you inevitably you always know that you're going to be in this situation where, with our situation, that you're going to have to make a decision, right? And so you go through that, and that's day by day, and I, trust me, I 100% understand, like when y'all ask every week about who's one, who's two, who's three, and all that stuff. I get that, I understand that, but at the same time, we're always talking as a staff every day, every practice, like where things are at. And I think after this past weekend with Justin and the growth that we saw, it really, the discussions we had was to be able to go this direction. And so that's where some of the change was over those last couple of weeks.
So that's a portion of Matt Nagy's press conference. Texters, you're on it. 312-644-6767. You're on it. People on Twitch, you're on it. Twitch.tv/Chicago 670 The Score. What changed between Monday and Wednesday? I'm glad that Dan Wiederer asked the question about that. That sounded like a different dude. So my theory, and it's already been shot down by some of my compatriots up at Hallis Hall, but I'm still running with it because I don't care. My theory is someone told him to get right. I don't care who it was. I would prefer that it's Virginia. In my mind, it's Virginia. In my mind, the matriarch of the NFL was like, hey, man, that's enough with this dumb stuff. You got us out here looking like Boo-Boo the Fool on local and national TV. You got us out here looking like Boo-Boo the Fool. Play the kid. We'll handle the $10 million that we owe Andy Dalton. Backups are valuable. So in my mind, that's what I'm seeing. But honestly, I don't care who it was. I don't care who it was that got to Matt Nagy. If it was Ryan Pace, if it was Ted Phillips, if it was George McCaskey, please let it have been Virginia. If it was his players, if it was the chorus of people around the country telling him, you don't have to go down this road, man. And you don't have to do it like this. You can make a better choice. I hope that he listened to people that told him, yo, man, do you want to be the offensive coordinator of the Bears or the head coach? Guess which job pays higher? Someone else can handle your light work. You can be the vision setter as the head coach. Start acting like it. Andy Dalton's a big boy, and the Bears did him a favor by allowing him to start and giving him $10 million. He was going to be somebody's backup. Why not be yours? And you still come out ahead, dollars-wise, on the quarterback position. Although that $8 million that you're paying Nick Foles feels awful. But this was the right move. Even if it fails, it's the right move. What do you always say, Herbie? Process over results? This is the right process. You weren't going anywhere with Andy Dalton as your quarterback. I'm not saying that Andy Dalton wasn't going to win some games, but you weren't going to bring him back. So anything that you did with Dalton was only going to get in the way of the development of Justin Fields. And he gave you enough of a glimpse, and that's what I saw, that's what Olin saw, that's what Lance saw, that's what Alex Brown saw, that's what Dominique Foxworth saw, that's what Rich Eisen saw.
Brian Baldinger
saw. Name your expert. That's what everyone saw. And we're all like, you saw enough to take the next step. So take the next step. Don't take a backward step. And the backward step would have been Dalton. So whoever got him right, thank you for getting him right. Please let it be Virginia. Someone texted in that Virginia walked in a Tim Anderson jersey. I kind of like all of it. Let's have some fun. Let's keep going with this, texters. Texters, people on Twitch. I want to know the vibe. I want to know the wardrobe. I want to know what character was Virginia McCaskey when she walked in and told Matt Nagy to start Justin Fields. I have her as Nino Brown. When they're all dressed in black in New Jack City. I've got her jumping rope with a chain, a dog with her, and stabbing Ryan Pace in the hand. And going, I never liked you anyway. Yeah, that's what I got.
Who is she selling to sit this $5 down before he makes change? Is that Matt Nagy?
That's George.
Okay.
All right. George gets to be G Money. That's perfect, right? So she pulls out the knife and says, sit your $5 ass down before I make change. I think we got it covered. I'm going to go with Virginia as Nino Brown. But you tell me how she walked into Hallis Hall. Because I got her kicking down doors and stuff and jumping rope with a chain and having a Rottweiler with her. We'll hear from QB1, his thoughts on being the starter, next here on The Score.
Hi, it's Elise Lunan, host of Pulling the Thread. In this show, I chat with culture-defining leaders, thinkers, and experts about this rare moment that we find ourselves in and how to think about our own lives and experiences within a larger social and spiritual construct. Listen and follow Pulling the Thread with me, Elise Lunan, a podcast presentation of Cadence 13, now for free on Odyssey and wherever you get your podcasts.
30 years ago this fall, a law professor named Anita Hill testified about sexual harassment at Clarence Thomas's Supreme Court confirmation hearings. Now, Because of Anita tells the real story of what happened and what's changed. You'll hear from journalists, witnesses, and activists, and listen in on the first public conversation between Professor Hill and Dr. Christine Blasey Ford. That's Because of Anita, a production of Pineapple Street Studios and The Meteor, out now wherever you get your podcasts.
Help DEA keep our community safe and healthy by participating in National Prescription Drug Take-Back Day, Saturday, October 23rd. Take action right in your own home by cleaning out your family medicine cabinet of unused and expired prescription drugs. Keep them safe, clean them out, take them back. To find a collection site near you, visit DEATakeback.com. Do your part to lower overdose deaths and prevent prescription drug misuse before it starts. That's DEATakeback.com.